Why does Euclidean geometry often leave us in a state of perplexity? This question has echoed down the corridors of academia for centuries. Today, we delve into the enigma that is Euclidean geometry, a subject that, for many, is as fascinating as it is formidable. The roots of Euclidean geometry stretch back to the ancient Greeks, to the scholar Euclid of Alexandria, who around 300 BC penned down what we now know as Euclidean geometry in his magnum opus, Elements. This body of work has been a cornerstone of mathematical education ever since, its principles underpinning much of our understanding of space, shape, and size. Euclidean geometry, with its postulates and proofs, its lines and angles, its circles and triangles, is a language. And like any language, it has its own grammar and syntax, its own peculiarities and nuances. It's a language that describes the world around us, from the structure of crystals to the layout of city streets. It's a language that has shaped our understanding of the universe, from the orbits of planets to the paths of photons. Yet, for all its elegance and utility, Euclidean geometry is often perceived as a difficult subject, a formidable fortress of logic and abstraction. It's a subject that demands precision in thought and expression, a subject that requires us to reason deductively, to build upon established truths to uncover new ones. It's a subject that challenges us to see the world not just as it is, but as it could be, to imagine and explore the infinite possibilities that lie within the confines of geometric space. So, why does Euclidean geometry often baffle us? Perhaps it's because it asks us to think in ways that are unfamiliar, to navigate a landscape of abstract ideas and logical proofs. Perhaps it's because it demands a level of rigor and discipline that can be daunting. Or perhaps it's simply because it's a subject that, like a complex puzzle, requires patience and perseverance to master. In the next few minutes, we will unravel the intricacies of Euclidean geometry. Stay tuned as we journey together into this fascinating realm of shapes and space, of logic and proof, of patterns and possibilities. First, we need to understand what Euclidean geometry is all about. Euclidean geometry, named after the ancient Greek mathematician Euclid, is the study of shapes and spaces based on a set of assumptions known as axioms or postulates. It's essentially the geometry that we encounter in our day-to-day lives, the mathematics of flat surfaces, straight lines, and perfect circles. Now let's break it down to its most fundamental elements: points, lines, and planes. A point, in its simplest form, is a location. It's like a dot on a page. It has no size, no width, no height, only position. A line is a series of points that extends infinitely in two directions. It's like the path that an arrow flies or the edge of a perfect circle. A plane, on the other hand, is a flat surface that extends infinitely in all directions. It's like the surface of a calm lake or the face of a mirror. But Euclidean geometry is not just about these elements, it's also about the relationships between them. For instance, how many lines can pass through 2 points? How many planes can contain a line? These are the kinds of questions that Euclidean geometry seeks to answer. Now let's talk about the axiomatic system. This is a set of fundamental assumptions, or axioms, that serve as the foundation for Euclidean geometry. For example, one of Euclid's axioms is that, through any 2 points, there is exactly one line. These axioms are accepted as true without proof, and all other theorems in Euclidean geometry are derived from them. Then, there's the concept of proofs. A proof is a logical argument that shows a statement is true based on the axioms. It's like a detective solving a case by piecing together clues. In Euclidean geometry, proofs are used to establish the truth of theorems, which are statements about points, lines, and planes. With these fundamentals in mind, we can begin to understand why Euclidean geometry is often seen as challenging. Now let's delve into why Euclidean geometry can be such a tough nut to crack. Euclidean geometry, named after the ancient Greek mathematician Euclid, is a field of mathematics that deals with shapes, sizes, properties of space, and the relationships between different figures. And while it might seem simple on the surface, it can quickly become a labyrinth of complexity. One of the primary challenges lies in the abstract nature of the subject. Unlike other fields of mathematics that deal with concrete numbers and operations, Euclidean geometry often requires you to visualize, understand, and manipulate abstract shapes and spaces in your mind. This can be especially challenging for those who are not accustomed to thinking in this abstract spatial way. Moreover, Euclidean geometry demands a strong spatial reasoning ability. It's not just about knowing the formulas or theorems, it's about being able to visualize shapes in different dimensions, to rotate them, to flip them, and to see how they relate to each other in space. This level of spatial reasoning is something that many people struggle with, making the subject more challenging than others. Another significant hurdle is the complexity of geometric proofs. In Euclidean geometry, you're often tasked with proving that certain statements or theorems are true. This requires a deep understanding of the principles and axioms of the subject, as well as a logical and rigorous approach to problem solving. The process can be long, intricate, and often requires a great deal of patience and persistence. But perhaps one of the most daunting aspects of Euclidean geometry is that it's a cumulative subject. That means each new concept builds upon the ones before it. If you miss or don't fully grasp a concept, it can affect your understanding of everything that follows, adding to the overall difficulty. However, these challenges are not insurmountable. With the right approach, patience, and a lot of practice, anyone can navigate the complexities of Euclidean geometry and come out the other side with a deeper understanding of the world around them. It's time to take these challenges head-on and learn how to master Euclidean geometry. Firstly, let's focus on the fundamentals. Euclidean geometry is built upon a set of axioms, or self-evident truths. These are the bedrock of this mathematical discipline. Comprehending these axioms is a critical initial step to mastering Euclidean geometry. They are like the rules of the game. Once you understand them, you can start to play. Next, we turn to the art of spatial reasoning, an essential skill in geometry. This allows us to visualize shapes, angles, and spaces, and understand their properties and relationships. It's important to train your mind to see in 3 dimensions, and sometimes even beyond. Try to visualize the problem at hand, rotate it, flip it, and dissect it in your mind. As you continuously practice this, you'll find that it becomes more intuitive over time. Now let's address perhaps the most daunting aspect of Euclidean geometry: constructing proofs. Proofs are logical arguments that demonstrate the truth of a geometric statement. They may seem intimidating at first, but remember, a proof is simply a story told in the language of geometry. Start with what you know, the given information, and then step by step, build your argument towards the conclusion. Be patient with yourself and practice regularly. Over time, you'll find that proofs become less of a puzzle and more of a satisfying journey from start to finish. It's also worth noting that resources abound for those seeking to master Euclidean geometry. Don't hesitate to dive into textbooks, online courses, and discussion forums. Connect with others who are on the same journey. Share your insights and learn from theirs. In conclusion, mastering Euclidean geometry is a matter of understanding the fundamentals, honing your spatial reasoning skills, and learning how to construct proofs. It's a challenging but rewarding journey, and with persistence and practice, you can conquer it. With these strategies, you can begin to see Euclidean geometry in a new light. In conclusion, Euclidean geometry, while complex, is not an impossible subject to conquer. Let's take a moment to reflect on the journey we've embarked on. First off, we brought light to the enigma that is Euclidean geometry. We have seen that it's not some mystical, unfathomable concept, but a tangible and accessible branch of mathematics that has shaped our understanding of the physical world. Next, we defined the essence of Euclidean geometry. We looked at its components, its principles, and its axioms. We discovered that it's a system, a language of sorts that communicates the spatial relationships between different shapes and figures. We then delved into the challenges of Euclidean geometry, the abstract concepts, the rigorous proofs, and the intricate diagrams. But rather than being daunted by these challenges, we used them as stepping stones, as catalysts for growth. We learned to overcome these challenges not by avoiding or bypassing them, but by facing them head-on. We equipped ourselves with strategies like visualizing problems, breaking them down into manageable pieces, and leveraging the power of deductive reasoning. And now, we find ourselves here, at the threshold of mastering Euclidean geometry. The key, as we've discovered, lies not in the complexity of the subject, but in our approach towards it. With understanding, practice, and perseverance, we can conquer this seemingly formidable subject. Remember, Euclidean geometry is not a mountain to be feared, but a puzzle to be solved. Each theorem is a piece of the puzzle, each proof a step towards the solution, and each challenge overcome is a testament to our ability to learn, to grow, and to triumph. So, let's not shy away from the complexities of Euclidean geometry. Let's embrace them, engage with them, and ultimately, master them. Because in the end, it's not about the complexity of the subject, but about your approach towards it.